Air strikes, rocket attacks push Israel, Gaza into second day of preventing Gaza, Jerusalem. Israeli air moves pounded Gaza whilst the militant Islamic Jihad group fired hundreds of rockets into Israel on Saturday as a cross-border clash endured into a second day, killing at the least 6 human beings, which includes 4 youngsters. Hamas, the Islamist group which controls the enclave, said the kids were a number of the dead from a blast close to the Jabalia refugee camp and blamed Israel. The Israeli army denied it became responsible, saying the explosion turned into because of a failed Islamic Jihad rocket launch. It distributed a video which seemed to expose a rocket being launched from Gaza at night, after which veering right now off route down into a built-up place. Couldn't independently affirm the photos. While the Israeli strikes went on, hitting what the Navy stated were weapons depots hidden in residential regions and destroying a number of homes, Islamic Jihad fired rocket salvos as a long way as Israel's industrial hub Tel Aviv. At least 24 Palestinians, which includes 6 kids, have been killed and 203 wounded at some point of the 2 days of firing, in step with the Gaza Health Ministry. Palestinian militants fired more than 400 rockets at Israel, maximum of them intercepted, putting off air raid sirens and sending human beings walking to bomb shelters. There had been no reports of serious casualties, the Israeli ambulance carrier said. Egypt stated it changed into engaged in extensive talks to calm the scenario. Further escalation might in large part rely on whether Hamas might choose to enroll in the fighting along the smaller Islamic Jihad institution. An Egyptian intelligence delegation headed with the aid of Major General Ahmed Abdelkhalik arrived in Israel on Saturday and would be journeying to Gaza for mediation talks, 2 Egyptian protection sources said. They had been hoping to stable an afternoon ceasefire to be able to carry out the talks, the resources added. Intensive efforts were made this night and the motion listened to the mediators, however these efforts haven't reached an agreement but, an Islamic Jihad authentic advised passed due on Saturday. The cross-border clash, which shattered greater than a 12 months of relative calm round Gaza, began when Israel released a Marvel attack on Friday, killing a senior Islamic Jihad commander and hitting a chain of what it mentioned had been military objectives. Concern around 2.3 million Palestinians are packed into the slim coastal Gaza Strip, with Israel and Egypt tightly restricting movement of people and goods in and out of the enclave and imposing a naval blockade, citing safety worries. Israel stopped the deliberate transport of gasoline into Gaza rapidly earlier than it struck on Friday, crippling the territory's lone power plant and reducing electricity to around 8 hours in line with day and drawing warnings from health officials that infirmaries would be seriously impacted within days. The frontier had been largely quiet considering the fact that May 2021, whilst 11 days of fierce preventing between Israel and militants left as a minimum 250 in Gaza and 13 in Israel useless. The United States absolutely supported Israel's proper to guard itself, the U.S. State Department mentioned on Saturday, and it urged all aspects to keep away from similarly escalation. UN and European Union Mideast envoys expressed situation about the violence and the Western-backed Palestinian Authority condemned Israel's assaults. Gaza streets have been in large part abandoned on Saturday afternoon. At the site in which pinnacle Islamic Jihad commander Taysir al-Jabari was killed, rubble, glass and furniture had been strewn along the road. In Israel, border metropolis streets were in large part empty at the same time as brushfires sparked by way of rockets unfold through nearby fields. Islamic Jihad stated it had fired a missile at Israel's predominant international gateway, Ben Gurion Airport, however the rocket fell short round 20 kilometers (12 miles) away. The Civil Aviation Authority stated the airport was working typically. Tensions rose this week after Israeli forces arrested an Islamic Jihad commander in the occupied West Bank, drawing threats of retaliation from the group. The Navy stated it had apprehended 19 more members of the institution there on Saturday. Israeli Defense Minister mentioned dozens of the group's rocket centers in Gaza have been destroyed. Prime Minister Yair Lapid, who faces an election in November, said the operation thwarted an coming near attack by way of Islamic Jihad, that is subsidized by way of Iran and specific as a terrorist corporation by using the West.